welcome some great shows to Mystic Lake Amphitheater. Guns N' Roses will be there August 8th. Motley Crue will be there August 21st. And Santana and the Doobie Brothers on August 27th. Get the complete details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Hour number 3 of the program today. I believe Dan Barrero makes his triumphant return at 3 along with JG. It's common and tend to be here until 3. Excited and delighted to be joined by the legendary one now, Mark Rosen. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm just kind of getting through the mental grind of this recovery from knee replacement. You know, honestly, that's kind of as much as the physical part of it, and that's still a long ways to go. But, you know, just kind of holed up in my place and using the walker, trying to adventure out, just using my hand on the kitchen table, guiding myself around. And
how do you do it?
Do what?
How do you do this day in, day out? And
I don't know. You talk about the grind, you mean?
Yes, the grind of it.
Well, it's not fun. I mean, but I keep my eye on the prize, and I know I have a new knee, and it's going to give me quality years of my life, whatever I have left. And I realized that, you know, right before I had the surgery, we were grocery shopping, and I had a sharp pain go right through the left side of my right knee, and I went, oh, now I remember why I'm having this surgery. So living with that for the next how many years was not an option that I wanted to deal with. So I figured it was tough. I was like, well, I'm going to make the decision to do this. And I did. And you have to pay the price. I mean, there's absolutely people listening know that mother, father, whatever relative gone through something like this. You know, it's a matter of getting the work done and getting the work in, the stretches, the exercises every single day, twice a day. Otherwise, the surgery is a surgery. That's, I had a great surgeon. Dr. Wolf is phenomenal. But, you know, there are many surgeons that can do that surgery. It's all about the recovery and getting a good PT person and getting the right exercises and being mentally ready to get it done. And that's all you can do. And I'm staring at the walls a lot of times, but I got to physically get ready. I get depressed at times. It's like, man, I haven't been in my car. I basically haven't left my house in 2 weeks. And that's not the end of the world, but it's like, okay, I got to get out of here pretty soon, going stir crazy. But, it is what it is, and I know the payoff will be great. So that's all I care about.
You're an inspiration to many. No, you are.
Listen,
think about it.
If I can help, listen, I try the best I can with my life being an open book because of you on the show in particular. That if I can, my venture through my long life, if I can help in any way, if I can give anybody any advice about whatever it might be. I've gone through my own personal turmoil stuff, obviously, quite a while back, and listen, we're all just kind of getting through this thing together, aren't we? I think that's where I look at it.
Listen to the haters. Wait, knee surgery for Rosen? This is the first time I'm hearing of it. Here's another. I thought Mark Rosen had knee surgery. It sounds like he had open heart surgery and his leg chopped off by the way he's going on and on and on. What is wrong with people?
I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. And those people are ones that are, and it's all in good fun, and I get it. And I haven't tweeted about it at all, other than the first day had the surgery, and that was it. I have not said a word about my recovery, not talked about anything. Just you asked me, and I'm answering. That's all there is to it. And if they don't like it, then that's fine. Wait till your bones start falling apart, buddy.
What? Yeah, buddy boy. One person that's not falling apart is Taj Bradley. Did you watch Taj Bradley last night?
It was brilliant. I mean, I'm thinking, go back to look at that trade, and you think at the time, Griffin Jax, who was a very effective relief pitcher for the Twins, and, you know, I don't think any of us really knew anything about Taj Bradley. It was a name that, you know, the Twins normally fill in the blanks. Okay, we'll just get rid of some of our best pitchers, as they did with Varland and Duran and Griffin Jax. Those three guys were elite relief pitchers for this team. And picking up some starters and go, well, Taj Bradley, I don't know anything about him, and, you know, really didn't pay attention to him. Man, is he finding his form right now? I mean, he was brilliant last night. I mean, that's as good a performance I've seen, and the Guardians had no chance against them. It was
Johan Santana-like.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's a good comparison in terms of his domination last night, and it really does bode well for the Twins' playoff push. And you were having that conversation that I don't think any of us believed a month ago. I'd given up on this team, I'm not going to lie. The relief pitching is still a work in progress. This is the only way you can compliment them. But they're getting some great performances, and this is the guy that's kind of leading the pack right now. Think about, what they could have been like if Lopez had been healthy. Pedro Lopez, just being his normal self, would have given this team a tremendous boost. And now Bradley's picking up the slack as the ace on this team right now, along with Joe Ryan. Those are two guys in particular. I know Bailey Ober is supposed to be back pretty quick, and hopefully go back to the form that we remember Bailey Ober being at. But you got those three starters, and they can pitch at that level. Joe Ryan was terrific at Yankee Stadium the other day. But Taj Bradley, my God, the ball guys like to call it filthy stuff, and he had it last night. I think he had 10, 11 strikeouts. And
10. Second consecutive game, he's had 10 strikeouts.
That's the first Twin to do that thing, I think, since Santana, is what I think I heard last night. They had a lot of fun in the booth last night. They had a new combination they didn't really have play-by-play guy up there, but they had Plouffe and Glenn Perkins and Morneau. Is that right? And then, Denard Span. They had a 4-ring circus up there doing the game. It made for fun night to listen to it, just kind of hearing, as only baseball guys can do. They can tell story after story after story. And those guys have a bunch of them.
Yeah, they do indeed. Boy, a lot of people are weighing in on your knee surgery. This one says, heroic decision for Mark to get a new knee. I feel horrible for him. This one says, day 3 or 4 is the worst. Hang in there, Rosie.
I'm way past day 3 or 4. I'm in week 3.
This one says, despite what many people say, Rosie's a pretty decent guy. I don't know if that's a backhanded cheap shot or not. This one says, ripping aside, Rosen is a living legend. Dude is St. Louis Park's finest and the best guest / personality on KFAN. How about that?
Oh, fellow Oriole baby. Yeah. Well,
This one says, I'd like some life advice from Rosen. What's good on the current Perkins menu?
Can't go wrong with the French toast. That's my favorite breakfast food over there. The hash browns and French toast. Markhausen
syndrome. Speaking incessantly about a surgery that occurs over 2,000 times a day in the U.S. That's what he says.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
What's that point? So people have open heart surgery. Okay, ask that guy if he's had either what's the first surgery he's had.
Trust me, he's never had one. He needs brain.
He's probably never even had. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is not a heroic thing. People ask because, I'm going through what a lot of people go through. That's all it is. I'm just relaying my own personal experience. I don't give a rip if you care what I say or not. It doesn't matter to me. It's funny. I think they're just trying to get me going, but that's okay.
It's unbelievable how people are.
Yeah, that's okay. It's part of the deal.
So when is it okay to start believing in this Twins club? I know they're still 2 games under 500. I know they are still 3 games out of first place. But it seems as though we've talked about this. Their lineup is rock solid. It's the most productive offense in the American League as we speak. I think like 5th best in all of baseball. We just talked about they have 2 legitimate. I mean, Taj Bradley could be a flash in the pan, I suppose, but right now it looks like this kid's for real. We know how good Joe Ryan is. Ober's pretty good. They've got Zeb Matthews. How good has he been this year?
Right.
The starting staff is pretty darn good. The bullpen, they have their moments where they're awful, and that's most of the time. But they added the South Korean kid. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see if he pitches soon.
Right. And if, let's say what if it's just the opposite of last year, where instead of trading everybody in our bullpen, we start acquiring bullpen arms? And I think it's a possibility.
Just getting a really reliable bullpen arm could be the difference between getting a wild card, potentially winning the division, or not making the playoffs. The 3 games out of first place behind who? The White Sox. Okay, let's take a deep breath about that. I know they're improved this year, and good for them. I'm glad they did. But, it's the White Sox. And they have an opportunity that I don't think any of us believed.
Yeah, well, I'll say this.
Don't squander it.
We've got a message for the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, what's that?
Objects in your mirror may be closer than they appear.
Love it.
We'll take a break. When we do, we'll return and pick away at Mark Rosen's brain and his knee, or what's left of it. We'll do that other side of the break here on the Common Man program on the Fan. Level 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's 10 to be Mark Rosen here as well. Back to the Twins for a moment. It was the bad news yesterday. Byron Buxton, the Twins' all-star center fielder, he has that hip impingement. He missed a handful of games a week or so ago, came back for, I think, one game, re-aggravated it. He's now on is it a 10-day IL?
Yes.
I thought they only did 15 days, but he's on the 10-day.
He'll miss the all-star game, yeah.
And that's, he's been arguably their most productive offensive player. He and a couple of others have had nice seasons. Our first baseman, the kid we picked up for $7 million.
Bell?
Yeah, Bell. He's had a really nice season for us.
Really nice season. And we've after a slow start.
Yeah, and we've had some other people pick up some slack. But, missing, it's hard to believe without, and again, if it's just a 10-day and he comes back, that'll all be good. But it's hard to believe that without him back in the lineup on a regular basis for the Twins despite the fact they're in the weak American League, weak Central, they're only 3 games out, that they would be able to really keep pace with the other teams. If keeping pace a couple games over 500 is that big of a deal without Byron Buxton returning to the team and continuing his productive ways.
Thankfully, it looks like, again, a short-term situation. He's unfortunately going to have to miss the All-Star game as a starter, which sucks for him. As much an honor as that is, as much of the game doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot. But I think we still might have an interest in watching it, although it doesn't sound like a lot of the stars we'll end up seeing next week. But Byron, I give him a lot of credit. Obviously, number one, he's had like 2 relatively healthy years in a row. And when the Twins were really falling apart even earlier this year, reporters were asking him about, you think would you want to get traded? You want to get out of Minnesota? And he goes, no, I'm a Twin for life, basically. And he's been pretty steadfast in that feeling about it. Now, these athletes can change their minds any which way, but got to respect that, especially in light of how this organization has looked at the star players and not really necessarily wanting to pay them the premium price or surrounding them with better players to make them even more effective. So, I think Buxton will be back. I think he hurt himself again. I think I saw him when he was slid into second base. One of those things again where you go every time. It seems like those are the times when Byron leaves himself vulnerable. I don't know what it is, but I think that's how he re-aggravated that hip impingement, if that's the correct term as you're using it, Common. Yeah. Yeah,
and so without him, I think, and again, you're right. It's only 10 days, but that doesn't mean anything because he could come. That's just, we're putting him on the 10 day. Doesn't mean like magically after 10 days he's going to be fine. He could still have issues with the hip, or he could re-aggravate it again. It's just something to keep an eye on because it's not like he's your utility infielder. He's your all-star representative. He's one of the best players in ball right now. So we'll see how that goes. I saw another story today, Fish Wrap Factory West Side. Chris Hine writes Minnesota Timberwolves. He says, the Wolves will have a key hole to fill. Could this young 7-footer be the answer? And we're talking about Juan Beranger. Right. He will spend some time at power forward during the summer league as the Timberwolves continue their search for front court solutions. And here's what I'll tell you. This has always been sort of a pet peeve with me. And it's not just the Wolves. I think it's most teams in the NBA. Maybe the person who probably is the most egregious, and I think it's egregious, would be Tibbs. They just go 8-man, and these young players just sit on the bench and sit on the bench and sit on the bench and sit on the bench. And why are they even on the roster, for crying out loud? I mean, we saw it with Beranger. He played very limited minutes. Your favorite player, Luka Garza. He barely played for the Wolves. They never get into the game. And it's like, aren't there moments where you can say, aren't you trying to develop these players? Or do you just wait until, we have no other choice now, go ahead. And then it's just like, from the frying pan into the fire. If Beranger would have been playing more, if he would have given, because let's face it, this team admitted there were days they didn't feel like playing. Ant said, so on those days when guys don't feel like playing, why don't you play other players? So now Beranger, somebody they might want to play in the front court. Now maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, maybe just playing some summer league ball and then getting into the lineup now, he'll just be fine. But I think they should have given him, and I think all teams should do this, give some of your role players, your younger players, give them more. You don't get better by just being the scout team in practice. You need to actually play in real games.
Yeah, I think there are opportunities that Chris Finch had last year, to your point, when the Wolves were kind of mailing it in. When he knows the vibe on the team and what they're not doing and how they're not listening to him or whatever the case may be. Well, I don't care who they're playing in the NBA. It's an NBA game. Send a message to the starters. Sit them down and put Beringer in there. Put some of the other reserves that rarely get an opportunity until garbage time, so to speak, because they're going to count on those guys a lot in the playoffs. Beringer is a little different situation because he's only 19. I don't even think he's even 20 yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm not comparing him, saying he's going to be the next Wemby, but he's got some real physical.
Do you think he's got Wemby potential?
I think he's got skills to be not compared to him. I think he's got the skill set that very few centers, power forwards have. He's got to fill out. He's got to get a lot stronger. But he's got the ability to, he doesn't have the wingspan of, nobody has a wingspan of Wemby. Or I think we saw, even as great as Wemby was, and it is, what the Knicks did to frustrate him in the championship series, that he, like, what's his go-to shot? I mean, he doesn't have a sky hook like Kareem. He can make 3-pointers once in a while, but that's not necessarily his game. But he's just devastating around the basket. He's got those long arms, and he's very athletic. I think Berenger's got an opportunity. And then Summer League, you're right. Summer League is Summer League. He's not. We're going to look at his stat sheet if you don't see the game and go, wow, you see what Berenger did? He had 22, 14, and 3 or whatever it might be. Well, I think it's time, and he's probably put on muscle. He sounds like he's gained like 10 pounds of muscle, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the Wolves continue to look for this power forward, depending on what LeBron ends up doing. Maybe they'll look around the corner and go, hey, that's the guy. I think he's ready now.
You like this kid, I think, don't you?
Well, I do. I liked him last year, but I agree with you. I 100% agree. I think there were plenty of times last year where Finch could have said, only because he's so irritated with his starters, set these guys down. A couple of them, if it's Gobert, whatever the case may be. And if you lose by 20, who cares? You're going to lose anyway. The guys are mailing it in. Put them out there. Let them get some more experience out there, and don't just save them for practices. So we're starting that situation all over again as they continue to wait for the LeBron decision. I saw an interesting quote, Common, just a few minutes ago during the commercial break. Steph Curry was asked about the possibility of teaming up with LeBron James at Golden State.
And what did he say?
I'm interested in playing golf right now.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
He didn't want to answer the question.
Well, he's probably been told to keep his trap shut. He didn't talk about
probably
LeBron,
that too. But I
don't hint, I want to milk this.
No, and whatever the case may be. So, that's going to go on for a while, I think.
Beringer is quoted in this story where he says, I've never played the 4 before in my life, so it's a big change, but I feel good about playing the 4 and playing with Rocco, so I'm very excited.
Rocco's the other kid.
He's the center, another real big, tall kid. So they have these 2 kids, 2 big men that they're going to try to work. And, I hope it works out. I mean, the LeBron stuff sounds great, and maybe and if it would be, if you were able to sign LeBron James and comes here, it would create a level of excitement for this team that we've not seen. It would even be greater than what we've seen when they've gone to the Western Conference Finals back-to-back years.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be on that same level as when Favre came here. When Favre came here in 2009, everybody got excited. We have a quarterback. You remember they went down and picked him up, and first they had to convince him to kind of want to play. Then there was the convoy to Winter Park, and then not only his performance and the team's performance matched the excitement level of when he signed. He led the team to a 12-4 record. He really turned back the clock. He was really good. And, they got to the NFC Championship game, and we all know what happens there. But this would be the excitement level on the same level and would probably surpass it, too.
I made that very clear. 100%. It would be the biggest sports day, I think, in Minnesota sports history. And even if you look at LeBron as 40-plus-year-old, as much as he have left in the tank, Favre, we talked about, I think a week ago, whatever it might be, was coming off an injury-plagued year with the Jets, and his quote, which stuck with the Vikings, I think, and Viking fan base when he arrived here, was "Pieces are in place." I mean, he knew what they had here, and I think that LeBron, if he came to Timberwolves, could almost echo the same thing. The pieces are in place. You got Ant Edwards, my good buddy from the Olympics. We got Ball now, who's an exciting player. I don't have to do as much as I used to have to do to be an effective leader and player on this team. And a lot of other outside people on the outside have said that from a basketball standpoint, Minnesota is likely maybe the best fit for LeBron James right now. But we all know there's a whole bunch of other stuff, whether he's going back home to Cleveland, the lure of Golden State, going to Philadelphia now to play out there because of all the stars they have. So I think that the Timberwolves, in a sense, remain the long shot. But I saw Johnny Krasinski at his podcast, I think today, was saying he felt the longer this goes on in his own mind, I don't know how he's putting two and two together, the better chance the Wolves have.
Oh, really?
I don't know how he comes to that conclusion, but I don't trust Johnny K about anything.
I want you to mull this question over and have an answer for me on the other side of the break as we go to break.
Okay.
Would you trade Beringer for Wembanyama? We'll get the answer from you on the other side of the break. It's Mark Rosen, Common and 10B right here on The Fan.
It's the Common.
Last segment of the show for today. I'm Common. He's 10B. Mark Rosen is with us as well. Alec Lewis, who writes for The Athletic, covers the Vikings. He did a Vikings survey set. Mm-hmm. And they have the results posted today regarding the Vikings. And it, talked about, you like the Teasley move, the Quasi-Adolfo, just all sorts of questions regarding the Vikings. And two of them were, what is your confidence level in Kevin O'Connell as the team's head coach? And on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, you're not really that confident, 5 being sky high, 33.6% were 5, 46.3% were 4, and then 14.9% were right in the middle there. But it seems as though more people had confidence in Brian Flores, because when it comes to 5, he had 78.6% as compared to 33.6% in that same category, that same question with O'Connell, and 19.4% were number 4. So it seems like those polled, and it's unscientific, it's just readers of The Athletic who decided to punch in their answers. They seem to have more confidence in the defensive coordinator than the head coach. Your thoughts?
Well, the question was about Flores in particular being the defensive coordinator, or would you rather have Brian Flores as the head coach? Was it just what he's doing? I understand that. That makes sense. I mean, I think because of Flores' ability to kind of take some ragtag guys that aren't necessarily Pro Bowlers and make them into a really solid defense. And I think the Kevin O'Connell thing, for the most part, is spot on. Because he hasn't won a playoff game yet, the people who said 4 out of 5 probably right spot on for the most part, because until you win in the postseason and have a string of victories in the postseason, it's difficult to say, well, he's a 5 out of 5. Then that means you're among the best of the best. You can't say that until you start winning in the postseason. So I think that makes sense. And the Flores thing, I think that there's a reason for that. His reputation, his ability, the players' confidence in him, and he's just coaching the defense. He's not coaching the entire team. And that makes his job, I'm saying, a little bit easier, but a little more specified about as far as his responsibilities go.
There was also the question, this was a two-part question, actually, I guess you could call it. The first one is, who do you want to be the Vikings starter at quarterback in 2026? 69.2% of those surveyed said Kyler Murray. 29.3% said J.J. McCarthy. 1.5% said Carson Wentz. But then the next question, who do you want to be the Vikings quarterback of the future? 54.4% said J.J. McCarthy, 18.3% said Kyler Murray, and then 27% said someone else. So what's interesting here is for this season, 69% of respondents want to see Kyler Murray, but as far as the quarterback of the future, 54% want to see McCarthy. And I think what that says is we spent a first-round pick, 10th overall in J.J. McCarthy. We've been dying for our own young quarterback, who, by the way, when he's under that rookie contract, doesn't cost us a lot of money. Now, of course, Murray isn't right now either. But for this upcoming season, for the here and now, Murray seems to be a better choice because it looks like McCarthy still has growing pains. But long term, they'd like to see McCarthy be the guy. That's the way I interpret these results.
I think that's the way the Vikings have interpreted it. That's why they brought Murray in,
yeah,
to be the starter this year. They're not bringing him in to back up J.J. McCarthy. That's just not. I can't even visualize being at U.S. Bank Stadium and gazing down and seeing Murray with his baseball cap on the sidelines, holding a clipboard and watching J.J. start. Personally, I'd love to see J.J. McCarthy be the starting quarterback. I wish he had been healthy enough and effective enough last year, and that's where, again, the Vikings they miscast his trajectory as far as a starting quarterback. But I think for the future, I think the poll's pretty accurate. I think deep down, we know Murray has a kind of year that he's gonna be able to capitalize on this 1-year deal and really get himself a hell of a contract. Arizona's paying him all the money this year, but next year he can do it all on his own if he has that kind of year. Look no further than a guy named Sam Darnold. I mean, that's kind of worked out pretty well for him. But that not going backwards in time, but I think that's exactly what the Vikings probably should have done a year ago. And instead they laid the law down with JJ, and we don't know that worked out. And then Carson Wentz played and got hurt. And Carson Wentz is not a bad option considering what he's been through and what he knows. He's probably more ready to start the season right now than anybody else on the roster, and he's healthy, but that's not going to happen. I mean, he's got himself a contract, and hopefully he'll get a job down the road, but I don't see him. If Murray gets knocked around a little bit and nicked up, which he's done often in his career, I think JJ is next in line. I don't think Carson Wentz is, but we'll see how that works out.
Another question that was asked, and they received over 3,000 responses, almost 3,100. It says, besides quarterback, what is the area you're most curious about with the 2026 team? 41.3% said run game improvement. 29.6% said offensive line play. 17.8% said Christian Darrisaw's availability, and 11.3% said Harrison Smith's future. And it's interesting, Tenneby and I talked about this. Run game improvement, offensive line play, and Christian Darrisaw's availability, those all actually are intertwined, right? Because if you're going to get better, I don't think the running backs we have are the ones we had last year, other than the rookie we drafted. So it's not like we went out and got a different running back that might shake things up. So I think with the running backs, what you see is what you get. And they're not great running backs. They're not awful running backs. I think they're probably slightly above average, right? They're good running backs. But, and again, our starter, Aaron Jones, I don't know. I like him, but I'm certainly not in love with him. But if you have better offensive line play, I think that will make the running game more effective. And the way you get better offensive line play is having Christian Darrisaw available for as many games as he can, hopefully all of them, and playing at the level he's capable. So I think all of those are interlocked with each other.
Absolutely. And putting it bluntly, Darrisaw is the key, obviously, but the Vikings offensive line otherwise, if they stay healthy, obviously through the whole preseason, they're locked and ready to go. They know all their starters are going to be. And that the consistency in having that kind of the same bodies in there, and Darrisaw being the leader, and Brian O'Neill being the leader, and Fry's having another year under his belt, and Brandell being the center now. All those things matter when you look at the really good teams in the NFL and having the cohesion with the offensive line. How many times you see this mid-season going, hey, these guys are one of the few teams left in the NFL that all 5 guys have been starting in the offensive line. It doesn't happen very often. So Darrisaw is the key cog, no doubt about it. And he sounds like he's certainly on track to have that kind of bounce back year. I would say, I don't know, my more best concern, only because I don't really know a lot of the names. Harrison Smith's name came up in the poll, but the defensive secondary still is, and more than anything to me.
Well, that's one of the biggest concerns. And another question, it says, which position group concerns you the most? After quarterback, it is cornerback. 22% of those surveyed, it concerns them. And I think there is cause for concern there. And with the safety part, they talked about the interest level, and Harrison Smith appeared on that.
Right.
I don't know. I think that's just people would like to know what he's about to do. I think it would be beneficial if he came back, but I don't think it's the be-all, end-all with the defense. It's not as though Harrison Smith says, you know what, I've decided I'm not coming back. It's like, what do we do now? I think we just say, hey, it's tough to lose, and we'll figure out a way to do it. But I think you're right. Tenneby and I discussed this when we're looking at these poll results. It's a passing league. We all know that. And there's 3 pretty good passers in the division. Caleb Williams had a breakout season last year under Ben Johnson. We know that the kid for Green Bay, Love, that he's developing. He's not perfect. He still makes some bad throws, but he's pretty good. And when Goff has time with the weapons he has, he can be very effective. So you need a secondary there, because if they kind of go hand in hand. If you have a good pass rush, it helps the secondary. If you have a good secondary, it helps the pass rush. But you got to have people in the back that can cover some pretty good weapons in this division. And I don't know if they have them or not.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know the extent of the depth chart of all the teams in the NFC North in particular, but my bigger concern as well is the depth of the Vikings team as a whole, because injuries are going to happen every Wednesday. We go through the injury list, and so and so's questionable, so and so's probable, so it might be. It happens. It's just that's the nature of the beast. But I'm a little concerned of how the quality of the depth that the Vikings have, because they've missed on so many draft picks the last couple of years. And it's kind of left the cupboard bare a little bit beyond their starters. Now it's going to be up to a guy like Dallas Turner to really emerge with the departure of Bernard in particular, to be that kind of a force on defense. He has a great opportunity to be, mentioned with the, kind of become a Pro Bowl type player if he can live up to the expectations that he had when he was a high draft pick. But this is his time. It absolutely is his time. And he's one of those players that needs to play at the highest possible level this year for the team to succeed.
One more question that's fun to look at. It was, which NFC North opponent are you most afraid of in 2026?
Interesting.
And 52.3% said the Bears, 26.6% said the Kitties, 21.1% said Packers. And I looked at that and I thought maybe with the Packers, it's Viking fans just don't want to give the Packers any kind of a credit. So we're not afraid of them.
Be part of that.
But then, Tenby, what was your theory on the Packers in the poll being the?
I think that was my theory.
Oh, that was your theory. Yeah, is that you just don't want to admit that can't
admit that we're scared of them.
Yeah, they can't admit that they're scared of them. So, yeah.
I think you can make an argument for all three. Honestly,
well, you could.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely could. I wouldn't. If you asked me that, we'll have those discussions when you go into we still doing the shows at the State Fair this year. Yeah, that'll be the discussion point. Who are your picks for the NFC North? They have the round table.
Yeah.
What arguments do you have? The Bears. You can make an argument for all of them.
Tenby, I think Tenby, you of those three teams, you think the Lions are the ones that concern you the most?
I think they're all close, right? I don't think there's an obvious answer in the bunch, but Detroit to me still has the highest ceiling of talent that I'd be the most concerned about.
Yeah, hard to argue that.
And for me, the Bears, because I'm a big fan of the talent of Caleb Williams. I just think he is. I think he took a major step last year from the year before, and I think due in large part to the head coach. They got Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from Detroit. He was really good. He played much better, and I think he's just going to continue to get better. But, you could make a case for, I think, all the teams, as you said.
Well, it'll be here before you know it. I mean, we've been occupied. Thankfully, we've had World Cup soccer. We've had Tim Roll's off-season, Wild still trying to figure out what they're going to be able to do. But it's all about the Vikings. And we're only weeks away now from the start of training camp, and the intensity of the discussion. And when will Kevin O'Connell name his starting quarterback for the opening game against the Packers? How long is he going to wait? An exhibition game, which is not going to matter because we're not going to see much of those guys with the starters anyway. But how is he weighing in his mind? When's he going to make that announcement? Which it's not going to be like, oh, Murray's going to be the starter. Or I think a bigger shock if JJ is the starter. I'm 100%. But how long? It's all the games that we play in and how we're looking forward to training camp.
I think I saw the coach say, did I get this right? And tell me, maybe you can help me because you pay closer attention than I do. Both Murray and McCarthy are going to play in preseason games. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they will.
Right. Yeah. But so my point is, play as you just alluded to about, but if Darisaw and O'Neal and Jefferson and Addison, if those players aren't playing, what really does it? I don't know what purpose it serves. I mean, if you have your two quarterbacks that are battling it out for the starting position, playing with reserves, I don't know what good that does, which would lead me to believe there may be a game or maybe even two in which, the starting offensive line, receivers and quarterbacks Because back in the old days, they did play. They would play the first.
They did.
Yeah, and matter of fact, in that fourth preseason game, they would play the entire first half and the first series of the third quarter. I know they've gotten away from that because they want to protect their investments in these players. But if you're trying to figure out who's going to be the quarterback and how Murray clicks with the offense, can McCarthy ever click with the offense? I think you got to play them all together in some preseason, not the entire game. I just get the feeling we're going to see some of the starters playing with those two quarterbacks during preseason football. I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I get.
Well, you can't run away from contact. You can't run away from the possibility somebody might get hurt. They get hurt in practice. I think a lot of it will be determined basically on how the Vikings and the Ravens match up in those two scrimmages they have out at TCO before their exhibition game against the Ravens. But obviously you can't hit the quarterback, but you can see a lot of what they are capable of or not, because that's when the starters are out there the whole time. But it's not a legitimate game, but it's as close to a game with the starters out there that you're not going to see in the preseason during those 2 days that they have the Ravens in town. So that might be the turning point kind of situation for the coaching staff and the quarterbacks.
There's a text message on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line from Kyle in Isanti, a regular listener and text messenger. He says, if the Vikings put up a dud this year and the quarterback situation is bad, do the Vikings bring in Flores as head coach and cut ties with Kevin O'Connell? Now, I don't know if Flores would get the job, but do you think if the Vikings have a 7-10 season, the quarterback situation's bad, do you think there's any chance that O'Connell is fired, or do you think he's at least on double secret probation going into the following season?
Well, there's always a chance. I mean, it's the NFL we're talking about. And how many new coaches do we have in the league this year? A half a dozen at least. At least, not more. That happens every single year. So it's hard to equate just a record versus the guys. I mean, the Wilfs are not known for, to pull the plug very often. They got a new general manager. So the coach and the GM are not tied together like they were in the past, even going back to Spielman and Childress and the rest. So it's usually one or the other or both. I think it would take something epic to have Kevin O'Connell lose his job, as opposed to, let's say he completely bottoms out. But no, Flores probably wouldn't. Sadly, he's had that lawsuit against the NFL. They're proceeding, I think, out of court. I'm not sure exactly where that's at right now, but he's had a lawsuit based on discrimination about him not getting other chances to be a head coach. And they've rewarded Brian with a nice new contract. So he's happy here. I know that, but, of course he'd love to be a head coach, but I don't necessarily think it would happen here.
As someone pointed out, I don't know if it was a listener or where somebody brought up the point that anytime O'Connell, and you could probably say this pretty much about any coach, but when he's had a team that's had a competent offensive line and good quarterback play, he's gone 13-4 and 14-3. When he hasn't, he's gone, 10-7 and 7-10 or whatever those records were. So, and I think there are still, I mean, you're right. They have their 5 starters penciled in on the offensive line. If they can stay healthy and perform like you think they can, and if Murray, because I do think it's going to be Murray, if Murray can pick up on the offense, and if, playing under a different getting a fresh start, basically, getting coordinated with a different system. If that works for him, well, then the Vikings could be in pretty good shape. But if the offensive line isn't healthy or doesn't click and Murray struggles, I think then there is, and especially if you don't make the playoffs, then you're 5 years in, you've made the playoffs 2 of those years, and you lost both playoff games. And then your last 2 seasons as head coach, you didn't make the playoffs. I think there would certainly be some conversations privately with the Wilfs about what do we want to do here. But yeah, I don't think unless like it was just an awful season, I don't think he's in any danger of losing his job after this season.
And let's not forget, there's a guy named Justin Jefferson on this team who's coming off a really tough year because of the quarterback situation. This guy's a Ferrari, and I'm sure his ego took a bit of a step back last year. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. He wants to win. He wants to be productive. He wants to lead the NFL in receptions and yards. And if they can't get that quarterback to get in sync with Justin Jefferson, then you got issues because Justin may be going, you know what? We've seen it with other wide receivers. As much as Jefferson's been a team player and everything else, I mean, if he had another year like last year, get me out of here. Yeah. I don't want to be, I can't deal with this. I'm not here to babysit your quarterback situation. I'm one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL. I want to be treated accordingly and get a guy who can throw the football to me. So that's why I think it's even more imperative that they get off to a good start and get Justin Jefferson. We used to have the Randy ratio, as Mike Tyson called it back in the years. We're going to have the Justin ratio, whatever you want to call it. But man, that dude's got to put up some big numbers this year to keep him happy. And I think that's just part of the by nature of the position.
If he wants to go.
Well, I mean, I'm not suggesting he does. I'm just saying
but I'm just saying if he does put his foot down, what could you get for Justin Jefferson on the open market?
No, quite a bit.
If he has another year like he just did, maybe not. Then the value is going to go down.
No.
Yeah, it could, but a player of that talent, if they also believe that it's just because of
the reason why.
Play, there'd be a number of teams that they'd start outbidding each other. I still think he'd get a pretty good haul.
Yeah, it's not going to have to worry about it. He's not going anywhere.
No, because